So we're going to start with who I am, what the hiking club is, and what Break the Trail is all about. Then I'm going to talk about the snow on the Tour du Mont Blanc. And then I'm going to go to a recap of my journey and then finish up with some gear recommendations based on my experience. So if anyone still has their camera on, could they please turn it off? It might improve things for us. Thank you. Okay, so if you do have any questions along the way, you can pop them in the message box. And then if there's time at the end, I'll pick them up. But if there's not, then we'll gather the top ones and we'll answer them via Instagram in the next couple of days. Okay, so who I am, who am I? So I grew up outside. My name's Brendan Jones. I draw energy and inspiration from the outdoors. I love the way hiking makes me feel. My first legendary trail in the Alps was the Walker's Haut route in 2017, and I found it hard to plan. My mastery is really using my accounting and tech background to organize trail data. And since 2017, I've mapped all the high route hiking trails in the Pennine Alps around and between Mont Blanc and Monte Rosa. I spend each summer in the Alps, and I like to be one of the first on the trails that I support and to explore new routes. And about 5 years ago, I started the hiking club, and the hiking club is all about helping self-guided hikers to confidently plan and prepare for their legendary trails in the Alps. So this year we have over 150 groups who are supported by the hiking club. We offer a range of products, an itinerary builder, a custom GPS map for people to navigate the trails with their phone, training programs to prepare for the Alps, workshops for preparation and planning, and consults. And so if you would like a consult or GPS map of your Tour du Mont Blanc itinerary to navigate the trail, that's something we can do for you right now. And what is Break the Trail? So knowing what the early season conditions are like is a really important part of a self-guided hiker's preparation. It helps with awareness of the challenges, appropriate gear choice, review of alternate routes and options if they are too challenging, and then also a revision of plan if they're well beyond someone's comfort. Yeah, I'll answer that question. We did our first Break the Trail hike in 2019. And with the support of the hiking community, we've documented the first detailed record of what the conditions are like on the Tour de Monte Rosa, Walker's Haut route, and Tour du Mont Blanc each year in the Alps since. So snow conditions on the Tour du Mont Blanc. So the first question that's on probably some people's minds are these conditions normal for early June? If we look at the last 3 years on as of yesterday, June 3rd, this year is about half the snow of what 2021 was. So 2021 was considered quite a heavy year of snow, early season. But it's about twice as much as what there was last year at this time. And 2022, so if anyone was looking at 2022 when they started thinking about their Tour de Mont Blanc and was saying that that the conditions were pretty good at this time of year, well, that was an exceptional year. That was more like what it's normally in sort of the early part of July, end of June, early part of July. And so that was exceptional. So I would probably say, having looked at the last sort of 5 years or followed the last 5 years in detail, that this year is probably an average year. It's been a lot worse than this. It's been better. This is pretty average for this time of year. And that's part of the reason why sort of the 15th of June is really when the season kicks off properly. It's when all of the refuges open, all of the services start coming online in the villages, and then the transport that only runs in the summertime sort of starts towards the end of June as well. How quickly is the snow melting? So if we take a look at the last week, we can see a snow depth reduction. And this is just by using sort of the avalanche service data. We can see the snow depth reducing by 30 centimetres or 1 foot on the south-facing side. It didn't reduce by quite as much on the north-facing side, and the snow line rose by 100 metres on the south-facing side. So when we look at the sort of temperatures and where the freezing level is, these things are good indicators of like what's feeding this change in the snow. So the freezing level stayed over 3,000 metres, and as I've been watching in detail, the last sort of 3 weeks, it's been sitting at that level or beyond, whereas before that, before 3 weeks ago, it was still dipping down towards 2,000. Temperatures at 2,500 metres were between 4 and 8 degrees Celsius or 39 to 46 Fahrenheit. And it was partly sunny. So, you know, the temperatures that are stated are always sort of in the shade. So, you know, if you're not getting as much sun on the snow either, it's not changing as quickly. If we look at the next week, we see the freezing level climbing higher. So it's getting 4,000 metre mark. The temperatures are also climbing higher, pattern with sort of rain and things coming through as well. So we haven't yet hit any sort of substantial heat wave pattern, which would really drive a rapid reduction in the snow. So the question that I got asked a lot on Instagram was, when will the Tour du Mont Blanc be snow-free? And I thought I'd just take a guess at this based on what I'm looking at the data. So current conditions, trends, I think it'll be somewhere around July 10th when the trail will become snow-free. And that's based on, yeah, that sort of foot of melt per week and about 140 centimetres left on the north-facing side, reducing over that time. Now, it's expected to get warmer at those higher elevations and things, so it may be better than that. But I'm putting July 10th as the day for me. So if you're hiking around that time and you don't step foot in snow, then I'd love you to get in touch with me and let me know, you know, when you started, and we'll take that as the day that the trail became snow-free in 2023. All right, so let's move on to a recap of my journey. So the Tour du Mont Blanc, I started in Les Houches, which is sort of the most popular place for people to start. I went in a counterclockwise direction, which is also the more popular direction. I started on the 30th of May and I did it in 5 days, and I did a combination of huts and hotels along the way. And that little screenshot there, you can see we're currently upgrading our itinerary builder to be a map-based tool rather than a form-based tool, which will go into testing soon. So day one, I've broken each day into 2 to make it a little bit more digestible. So day one, the first part of that day was from Les Houches to Le Contamini. And so there was no snow at Col de Vosa, and therefore there's no snow on the main trail. So I didn't go that way. Col de Vosa is the highest point, and then you roll down into the farmland. And so I'm highly confident that there's no snow down there. So people who are going that way on their first day should be snow. On the Les Houches side of Col de Tricot, it wasn't. That side going up to the pass is not steep. On the other side, it is very steep with switchbacks. But the other side had no snow. The way up on the Les Houches side did have some snow, but it wasn't troubling at all. It was over relatively flat, although the gradient was relatively gentle. The suspension bridge is now installed. So that question that was asked before. So we have a trail ambassador program, and our first trail ambassador started on yesterday, and they sent us a photo sitting on the bridge at Col Tricot, over the Bissonnais glacier runoff there. So yeah, no detour required. You can do the alternate route as planned. So the next section from Le Contamini to Refuge de la Croix. So from Le Contamini, you head up along the Bonnat River to Refuge Nabmorant and then Refuge de la Balme, and that was all fine up there. And then when you go above de la Balme, you go up into Plan Jovet, and that's that little photo there. It's sort of a big plateau, and you start to hit snow patches in there, but there was nothing steep or troubling at that point. And then the second photo there, you start to ascend to Col de Bonhomme, and that's where it becomes heavy. There was nothing overly deep in that section to get up to Col de Bonhomme. It was just and then when you do get to the top, the first section you then do on the way to Col de la Croix, there is probably the steepest section that you need to cross, the steepest slope that you need to cross. However, there was already a good track of footprints that had been trampled down there, and so there was a little, foot wide sort of path being cut through that slope there already. It is one area, because it does have quite a drop off to one side, quite exposure, that people can find challenging, particularly if the snow is icy, but it wasn't for me. And the next week as well, with the freedom being so high, it shouldn't become that either. The next day then, on day 2, I went from Col de la Croix firstly to Refugia Elisabetta. So I took the Col des Fours route. If you took the main trail, I could see from the refuge where the snow stopped on the way down to Le Chapiot. If you're not comfortable in the snow, then I'd highly recommend taking that route down to Le Chapiot, taking the main trail. Don't do the Col des Fours route, because it does have some steep slopes. It's not going to be any faster for you because of the snow. So normally it can be a little bit faster if you take, but it won't be in the snow for you. So you've got some steeper slopes there. You've also got some more serious snow bridges that you need to cross in that as well. So I use my micro spikes at a point here. So even though, it wasn't on ice, I had some slopes which were quite thin of snow, and then under it, the ground, I wasn't confident I was going to get enough traction with my shoe. So I put my micro spikes on there. And then part way down, when you got down to the river and start to follow the river, or the runoff from all the snow there, the snow was gone. So by the time you got down to, Val de Glacier and Refuge Montet, snow around that area. And as you climb up to Col de la Seine, a couple of hatches that were deep, they had sort of round shoots that was snow ridges as well, with runoff coming underneath them. But then beyond a couple of patches like that, the actual heavy snow all the way to Col de la Seine. So it was a slope, but the slope isn't steep. So it's just a march through the snow. I could see where footprints had been before me, but it had melted down, so they weren't really helping me. I felt like I was very much breaking the trail. But I've seen other people on the trail. I think in a matter of days, there's going to be quite a path marked out to follow. So the snow continued all the way to Refuge Elisabetta, and then at Elisabetta, the snow then went further down to the track below. So they normally clear that track to get in sort of heavy snow, cut that path so they can get vehicles up to the refuge. They hadn't started that work yet. I think there's probably too much there still. It wasn't any more challenging. You kind of pick your way through sort of various little goat tracks down to the bottom there to avoid most of it on the way down. And then once you hit that track, you continue snow free along that until you get to the junction. At Cabin Comble, and then at that point you go up to continue up there and check out that second photo there. You can see what I was facing. I stopped there and back down to the junction and went down the Valley Trail, which ends up at Refugio Monte Bianco, and then at that point you can climb up to Col Checarot, which is where Refugio Mason is. So you can do that if you want to maximize your time on the main trail without doing that Mount Favre spur section. Or you can continue down the road if you want to all the way to Courmayeur. Now, having been in that Mount Favre spur section early season in previous years, I know that there's some sort of deeper bowls there. So if people saw what I posted on Instagram, I've been stuck there in some pretty deep post holing. And then there's also some steep chutes that you sort of need to cross along as well. So it's a challenging section, but I'd say it's no different to what you probably face going over Col de Bonhomme and Col de la Croix in that area. So yeah, given more, not do it. But I haven't done it, and so I can't say exactly what it's like. And the views from up there at Mount Favre spur on a clear day are stunning anyway, so it's worth it for that. But I didn't have that on offer for me on my day. Okay, the next section then from Courmayeur to Chalet Velforet. So there was snow patches all the way along the valley from just after Refugio Bertoni, but there was nothing troubling. Probably the more unique part of this section was the roughs that you were getting, some of the little streams going down. There was a lot of water gushing down, and so this first photo here you can see with the wood being put across there. So that one, it was going to be difficult to cross if there wasn't anything there. You certainly would have been getting wet. You would have had to wade through at the probably more point, but there was nothing that you could leap over without that. So I was happy to see those guys find those planks and put them on just as I was arriving to use. And hopefully they're still there for the next people. But there is normally a bridge that's installed. So a lot of these bridges, like the one at across the Bissonnais Glacier, run off there. So they pack them away in the winter time and then they put them out for the summertime, for the hiking season. And so this bridge hasn't been installed yet, and it's quite close to Refugio Nati. I imagine we put it up there soon. So then, yeah, so that all the way then to Chalet Velforet, it was good conditions, the trail. And then from the end of the valley there, you start to climb to Refugio Elena. And there was a few longer snow patches, and then from Elena you were sent up to the Grand Col Ferret. And I was pleasantly surprised that the trail this year, just a feature of where they've directed the trail to go, went on parts of the mountain climb that weren't near that avoid the snow patches. So there were snow patches either side of me, but the trail was clear in a lot of those parts. And then it was only from like the last probably 300, 400 meters that you can see in that first photo that it was properly in the snow. When we got to the border, though, it's a different situation. So when you look over the top into Switzerland, it's covered and it's quite deep as well. So the run down there, it wasn't until probably half a mile from Le Puy when you hit sort of the trail, and then there was only sort of a few snow patches from there. So that second photo is sort of looking back up towards Col de Grand Col Ferret. And then after Le Puy, there was only sort of 2 or 3 more little patches in sort of shaded chutes. You come around. One of them in particular had a bit of rock fall through it that was a little bit firmer to cross. Didn't have the same give as the other sort of snow ones, but it was, yeah, that was okay to do. So getting down then into La Folie, so I got the bus to Ossier and stayed the night there. And then the following morning, I got a bus up to Champay-Lac and started from there. And from Champay-Lac all the way to Le Puty, it was snow-free trail. So that was a great section to do. Then on the next part of day 4, so when you leave Le Puty, you go up into the trees and you start doing all these switchbacks. And then you come out of the trees and you hit the first snow patches. And then as you get closer to the top, it started to be sort of more heavy with them. And when I did get there, I spoke with the guardian, Henry, and he guessed that it'd be another 2 weeks before the snow clears from that section. And then if anyone was planning to take the Les Grands route, then that would be more like a month, more like early July cleared, given that it is a lot steeper and it does have big bowls where wind blows a lot of additional snow in. So it doesn't hold to the same sort of average snow depth reduction that you see on the avalanche reports. So I didn't do that alternate route, and I wouldn't recommend doing it for a little while yet either. So it's a really steep, it's got a really steep top to it, which is challenging even without snow. And then on the Champay-Lac side, down at around uh, 2,450 meters, you've got this really big boulder field, and so yeah, I'd recommend taking the Alp Bovine route if you wanted to consider it in the second half. Be checking at Relis-Arpet on the Champay-Lac side or the Bavette on the Triomphe Valley side, whether anyone had done it, what type of conditions were like still. But you can still see the glacier on the main trail from both Puty, or if you go into the Bavette, from Col de la Forclaz as well. Next part of that was then going from Col de Balme over Aiguille de Pessettes, and there was some snow patches to cross, but they were relatively gentle gradients. It wasn't changing at all. And then from the top on the descent, there was only a little bit of just a couple of patches too, so it wasn't trouble descending down into the trees as well. So that was a great section to do. Then it became interesting on day 5. So it was a clear run all the way up the ladders, along the Grand Balconsu, through Le Fledgerie, the Fledgere ski area, and then onto Plainpras. And then when we get into Plainpras, there was a fair bit of snow still. On the sort of back side of it. That's guiding you on the TMB trail towards the back of it. If you want to this, then take that green run on the front. You're not going to miss out any view you would have had, enjoying the stunning view the whole way along. And then from Plainpras, we go up to La Brevent. So the first thing to say is that, yeah, there's steep snow patches on the way up to Col de Brevent. And on the way up there, I saw some other guys doing the trail who were scrambling up some rocks and having some quite serious trouble there, but they were pushing on. They had one person who was very keen. They had one person absolutely not keen, and then they had someone in the middle who was trying to bind the group together to get them to keep moving forward. But they were having some trouble. But they, you know, you could get up to. I didn't use my micro spikes because the snow was soft enough. The slopes were quite steep. But then after Col de Brevent, when you come around on the backside of La Brevent, it was heavy with snow. And then as you approach, approach La Brevent, the top, there's another ladder section, which is not the main ladder section that everyone talks about earlier near Trail de Champ. It's another one. And that was all covered with snow bar two rungs. So that was a very steep ascent that I needed to do. And even though the snow was still soft enough to get a decent footprint in, it wasn't all the time. There was some that was still, like, it was a soft layer on top, and then it was firm quite quickly below it. So yeah, I used my ice axe at that point. And yeah, it helped me. It gave the confidence to sort of continue on rather than turn back. I'll talk more about gear at the end and about that choice for me. And then, so when I got to the very top, then looking down towards, it was heavy with snow again. So there's been times where there's still been snow on that backside as you climb up. And then when you do the descent to Bella Chat, it's been relatively clear. But at this time, there's snow on the way up and snow on the way down as well. And then after Refuge Bella Chat, so that second photo is looking from down near where I hit the first part of the trail, looking back up at the very top bit there, that's Brevent. So you've got snow all the way down there. And then there was only a couple of patches of snow after Refuge Bella Chat. So it was hard on the knees as you do the long descent down. Okay, so let's talk gear. So I carried my micro spikes with me, and I used those at Col des Fours, and I used those going up and around Col de Brevent or to Le Brevent in that area. So there's two places that I use them. Now, in previous years, going at this time, when there's been this amount of snow, I use them a lot more. It depends on, I guess, two things. One is, where is the freezing line at the time that you're on the trail? So, you know, I can see from now until Friday that's sitting up towards, you know, well above 3,000 meters. If it stays that way, the snow should be soft for you. Even if you're saying it's somewhere like Refuge de la Croix and starting out early in the morning, it should still be soft for you because it hasn't frozen overnight. But if that changes and the freezing level does drop down lower, then you're going to appreciate having those micro spikes with you. The other time is that there is some shaded patches of snow that just, you know, they still get a soft layer on top, but then they have quite a firm layer quickly below them. And if it's a steep slope that you're crossing and you're a bit nervous about it, you're going to feel a lot more confident with your micro spike on. So I recommend taking it until the snow is substantially gone from the trail. So I will carry mine with me until probably around that first week of July on the Tour du Mont Blanc. Maybe it'll be the last week of June. But certainly for the next few weeks, I'd recommend carrying your micro spike just on the basis that the weather for your tender might be different to what I had, and there's a lot of snow around, so it could be hard for you. Poles, so absolutely recommend poles. So not only are they useful for sort of keeping pressure off your lower back and giving a better distribution of sort of the weight across your body, when there's snow around, it helps significantly with stability. particularly when you're crossing those slopes. So I could probably grateful to have pole sort of like I slipped a little bit with my foot. The pole was in, I rebounced immediately and kept going, and it wasn't a problem for me. So yeah, highly recommend poles. Wet gear. So make sure that you and your gear is protected. I mean, this is probably an obvious thing, but you're going to experience, you know, seasons. Cold weather as well. So, you know, it's very different down in the valleys. Like down in the valleys, it's quite warm and balmy. But then when you're up at the passes, it's different. And on that day that I had the whiteout and the wind as well, like I was around 0, like it was cold up there. So you probably saw that day, like I was changing, you know, I was pants, I was even jacket at the start, beanie, gloves, and then it was like down to shorts, t-shirt in the end, and as I was struggling to cool my ears. So, you know, expect to sort of do costume changes through the day, but make sure you've got something that can handle, you know, 32 Fahrenheit, 0. And then sunny weather, obviously. So the trail is exposed, which is, you know, what makes it so beautiful that you can see, you know, the massive for so much of it. But it also means that yeah, you're in the sun, so sun protection is important. So I went through half a tube of sunscreen on my way around, and I came off the trail without getting burnt, even though I had a lot of sun on my way around. So yeah, make sure you've got that too. The one that I've left off there is ice axe. So I generally don't recommend people take one unless you've got experience using one and you used it before. So the Tour du Mont Blanc, the Walks Out route, these are not trails to just pick up an ice axe and then walk into the mountains and feel like you can use it. Like my personal experience is that I've done some work before to practice, you know, like my stopping with the, you know, I've used it for many seasons now. Hikes. So yeah, I don't recommend taking one unless have experience with it. And then, as I mentioned, the place I used it then is on that back side. It's called the Prevent. And for those who, you know, want to avoid that, the cable car to the Prevent is going to open soon, next weekend, I think it is. So you'll be able to take that and skip that section, and I recommend that. So that's all the content that I had to go through today. We're going to do another live webcast on the 23rd of June, and you can register on the website. But the trail dates are going to continue from our ambassadors who have started yesterday on the trail. We'll keep starting throughout the season. The next webcast that we do is going to focus on the Walker's Hat route. So for those of anyone who's doing that trail, the snow up above 2,000 meters is 2 meters of snow at that point. So I'm still not sure. My first day on that trail is going to be around the 14th, 15th of June, but I'm still not sure whether that's going to be too early for me to even, you know, provide anything of value. So I might push my notes back depending on what I see initially when I go up around Cabin de Louvre and Cabin de Montfort in that area, in the VBS area. But yeah, 23rd will be the next one that we'll do. And time. So let me see if I can dig some out. +1 Sophie's. What day do you think micro spike will be necessary? So we're going to keep updating on what the snow conditions are like. But if I was going to have to guess, now I'd say it's somewhere around the first week of July. Sometime in June, it could like substantially change the snow level. That 10th of July guess that I had about snow-free trail, you know, there's a day before that when you're crossing such limited patches that it's not a problem for anyone, that could be around sort of the 1st of July, 3rd July. So I say, you know, anyone like, you know, the last week of June can probably ask a question around microspikes. Anyone who's going before that, I'd recommend it for sure. I'm just going through some more questions here. Campers, will you sleep on the snow? If you had a question, oh, here you go. What were the high and low temperatures on this? So down in the valley it was 22 Celsius, and then up on the top, with the wind chill on that day, I saw it was around 2, and that was as cold as it got. But usually it would be around 10, 12 to 10 on top. I mean, I run pretty hot, so I wear shorts unless it is really cold. But I was wearing shorts and a t-shirt most of the time. Other than that day, it was quite windy, which changed it. Todd's question: we're staying at Lac Blanc mid-June. Thoughts on test book? So when I was up there, I did see some runners, some trail runners going up towards Lac Blanc. I honestly think it will be, there will be a path that will be cut through because it's popular with people locally. And so if Lac Blanc opens, the refuge opens, which I'm certain that they will by their planned date, there will be a trampled down path to get up there. Are any of the huts that are meant to be open closed? Not that I'm aware. No, they're all Elizabetha was open. Yeah, it was open while they're preparing. Tomorrow coming to Elizabetha. Is it supposed to rain? So for the short-term forecast, I look at the Chamonix Mont Blanc weather. They turn the Meteo France weather report into these pictures, which sometimes can be quite scary with the storm images and things. But they show the weather to be like Italian side and on the French side as well. So pretty good indication around what it's like in the morning, in the afternoon, and in the evening. Variants. Yeah, I just on weather actually. So I absolutely wouldn't suggest you follow the Google weather. The Google weather for my whole time said it was going to be raining, and it wasn't. There was, yeah, I had showers on a couple of days, but they were minor compared to what it was going to say on Google. So yeah, don't follow the Google one. Look at the Chamonix Mont Blanc one, and that will give you a better gauge. What variants do you recommend not taking? Yeah, so the two I wouldn't take at the moment, or probably the three actually, is so Col des Fours only if you're comfortable in those heavy snow conditions. Otherwise, you see the same view. You see a lot of the same view going up on the main trail. You're just down in the valley rather than being up at the top. If you really wanted to go over and have a look, you could go to Col des Fours and then come back, because that section 2 Col des Fours is okay to do. There's no sort of steep slopes on that bit. Fenetri Arpet, that's the one I'd certainly recommend not doing until it's clear of snow. Most years there's been a serious incident early in the season, and so yeah, it's a good one to avoid. And then the other one would be Col Sapin. So even though the Col Sapin, getting up there is okay, the next pass that you do, it's quite steep to get up to and come down on the other side as well. And the view from the main trail on that section anyway is quite stunning. So you're not going to get too much more by going up higher at that point. What was Judith's question? You were breaking up when talking about the hat route. Oh, okay. So on the 15th is when I'm gonna, or on the 14th, I'm gonna go up to Cabin de Louvie, have a talk with Claudia there, and have a look around there, and I'll look around the Montfort area, Cabin de Montfort area too, and see what that's like. So in previous years, so the Grand Desert, which is just beyond there, usually that's the last thing that people can do. There's probably a 2-week period where you can skip and then do the rest of the trail. So the things I'll be looking at, I'll look there myself. I'll also look on the Cabin de Moray website, because when they open in the middle of June, they'll start putting little updates on what the conditions are like to get up to them, and they sit just below 3,000 meters. So once they say that the path up there is good, then you get a good indication that things that kind of higher elevation are worth sort of considering at that point. So yeah, I don't think the Grand Desert will be possible on the 15th. I think it'll be more like the last week of June, first week of July this year. But yeah, we'll see. Animals to watch out for. There's a poisonous plant, so there is stinging nettles. You can you can brush past those and get a sting from them. Animals. So I've not had trouble with animals. That's it. I once got head butted pat in Italy, but I guess I was asking for it. But generally they're fine. The only one to probably mention is they've got, because in these alpine areas they have like their sheep and goats and cows. So when they have their sheep and goats, they usually have the maramas that look after them, the sheep dogs, because there's wolves that sort of are in this area, and so yeah, wolves have a huge area that they cover. This is one part of some wolf pack area that they do. So therefore they have these maramas with them, and so they can have the sheep or the goats grazing quite close to the trail, and they normally put fences around to try and like show the dogs as well that this is the area that we're protecting and people are outside of it, but they don't always. So they'll have signs up though near the trail, so just take a wide berth if you come across it, because they're probably the thing that's the most aggressive in terms of any animal. Waterproof pants and trousers. Okay, yeah. What cheese meal do you highly recommend to try? Oh, I mean, raclette is probably my favorite cheese and meal, and yeah, I mean the one that I took the photo of, the potato roasty, that had raclette cheese on top of it. Also had ham and an egg on there. That's a, I mean, the raclette cheese, each valley sort of will produce their own cheese. So if you're staying at La Pure, like they're a working dairy farm, and they also produce their own cheese. In Val de Glacier near Le Chapillot, there's normally a portable milking van there that the cows that they take up there during the summer, they milk them there, and then they produce cheese there as well. So all the valleys sort of have their own cheese. If you're lucky enough to be in Chamonix on a Saturday, then highly recommend going to the market that's in the centre area. The same in Chamonix, I think on Saturday as well, that they have their market over there too, and you get producers, farmers from the valley that will have their goods there. So I'll do that. Was that an ibex in your video? Yes, it was. Yeah, so that's a popular area for them. That's a nature reserve up there. So on the way up towards the ladders, you've got a good chance of seeing them. Input on how to reach Mazouche from. Yeah, so the shared shuttle buses do. If you're prepared to wait, you can get like a Flix bus that run like a couple of times a day. Like if you want to try and want to do it for the cheapest price. But I'd recommend the shared shuttle bus that will take you from the airport to your hotel and back again. So help you to do make Plan de Glacier, Smuggler's Route. Yeah, Plan de Glacier. There's still a bit of snow up that way. I need to have a think about it. On the Smuggler's Route, I haven't heard it called the Smuggler's Route before. Can you repeat what weather source it was? Sorry. So it's the Chamonix Mont Blanc. I'll put it in the chat. Camping. Awesome. Oh, okay, so it's done it. Thank you. Oh, maybe I'm going to sorry. Oh, shuttle service, mountain drop-offs, and Alpi bus. The market is on Saturday in Chamonix. Tuesday in Les Cantons. Mosquitoes and ticks. So I've seen some mosquitoes, but I've never used or needed repellent, and they usually love me. So I've not seen like swarms of them and things like that. I've just seen the odd one here and there. So I wouldn't worry about mosquitoes, but ticks, I've seen signs for it up on different parts of the trail. So yes, there may be ticks, but I've not had an experience with them and not known of anyone who picked one up either on the trail. So I don't know how prevalent it is, but I have seen a warning sign up. Staying at refuges, how much water do you recommend carrying? I was taking chlorine tablets. So I take 2 liters and I plan to fill up once during the day. Every refuge will have water available. If they're low enough down, they'll have a fountain that you can take from for free. If they're higher up, like Refuge Delacroix, they don't have a water source there, and so you'll need to buy a bottle. And so there, it was €5 for 1.5 liters, and that's probably pretty standard across the trail. But if you're somewhere like, Refuge de la Balme, they've got a fountain there to take water from. Chlorine tablets. So there's so many water options on the Tour du Mont Blanc. I've not had to ever treat water. So all that water in the fountains is potable. And then I've only on the Walker's, it's the only place I've had to use my tablets because I've taken water from pastured area in the Alpine, and that was just a last resort. I needed it on what I was doing. But normally, if I've planned things out and the day goes how I expect, yeah, I don't need to take that or use that. The conditions of the Via Ferrata up to Refugio Monte. No, I don't, sorry. The smugglers are supposed to be high route from Coldtree to Plan Glacier. Oh, okay. And this is to the little, this might be to the little, is it the little refuge there that like fits like 8 people? Yeah. Change of path. Catherine, yes. I'll be in touch in email. Catherine. So no filter. Or use a water filter along the trail. Like I said, the water that's available in the fountains is potable. So, yeah, I've not ever filtered the water. I've not known people that have needed to filter it yet. Is there a shuttle mid-June from Val de Glacier to the Chapio? No, it doesn't start running until I think it's the last week in June, last weekend in June. Yeah, that's when the Val de Glacier shuttle. And the other thing actually to mention is the buses up the 2 corner valleys, so Val Ferret. So the timetable's still not out, but they're expected to start on the 16th of June, which is when school finishes on the 15th of June, and then they expect us to start on the 16th of June. It's highly frustrating. Both the bus company in Courmayeur don't know, and they just said head office will tell us the day before it starts. And the tourism officer as well is frustrated about it as well. So there's no clarity on when exactly those buses will start. So until then, you can get a little way. You can kind of get to the entrance of Val Ferret on the way to Switzerland, and then you need to take the road, like it stops sort of right at the entrance of Val Ferret. And then Val Venet, you can't really get far at all on that way. But yeah, everyone there said that they're going to run again every year. It just, the timetable won't come until the day before, so until like the 15th of June. Okay, that's right on the hour. So I'll wrap it up there. Thanks for joining. If you've got any feedback on how you thought, the content that I covered, if there was anything I missed out, then feel free to send an email to us. It's info@hiking.club. But yeah, everyone, all the best for your trips. It's awesome adventure out there. You love it. See you on the trail soon.